Let's see what the chat says.
So when did these comics get released? What year? Recently?
Recently, I
Yeah.
mean several years ago, but the last one,
5 or so, I
the
think.
fourth volume is the last year, I think.
Last year is
Last
the
year,
fourth volume.
yeah.
Okay.
So this is the last one, I think.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she asked us to maybe, but she asked us to sell, in front of the building. Maybe like you, time to time come to the office and are there any souvenirs or like that.
Right.
So
Well, I'm sure that if you sold those at the front office, people who watch this stream when they visit Japan,
Oh yeah,
they would.
a lot of people will come and buy these if they
Yeah.
ever visited Japan.
Like, how many people are watching right now?
We effed, so
Yeah.
we dropped, but now it's at 23,000.
It started at
Yeah.
Sanmain and now it's
Yeah, 23,000
Yeah.
people are watching about this. So some of them will visit Japan and maybe.
Oh, for sure.
you mean 300,000?
No, no, no.
23,000 人. So,
Wow.
yeah.
20,000.
It's like a TV show.
23,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool, really.
round up to 24,000. Okay,
Uh-huh.
whatever. Yeah, they all want to buy.
Yeah. So if you had a way to sell this,
Okay,
they would.
I will tell the publishers
Yeah.
to send big packages to the Los Angeles or
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's an international audience. and,
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
It's not just LA,
Uh-huh.
but okay. So back to politics.
Uh-huh.
Is there, like, how difficult is taking legislative action in the modern diet?
Of course, the biggest faction is the ruling party, LDP and Kome party. But as you know, after the last general election, the new, we might say, new phase of the Japanese politics began, because for the first time, the ruling parties lost their majorities in the diet in the lower houses. 20 years ago, they lost majority in the upper house, but as you know, lower house is stronger than the upper house, and so they have now difficulties to get enough votes to get the legislations, especially the budget, get through. So and we accomplished that kind of result last fall, partly or mainly because of Akahata's scoop. It's a really big scoop to smash the LDP candidates. But unfortunately, we lost 2 seats in the diet. Those big news did not automatically come to our support. So that's the problem for us to get. We obtain more power to get the votes from the population, but still, it is really interesting moment in Japanese politics. So we are really kind of optimistic.
How does LDP maintain its popularity overall? Because it feels like it's almost I don't know if this is inappropriate for me to say, but an extension of American imperialism. Its continuous reign over Japanese politics, especially given its connections, I feel like, in its inception to people who are aligned with the Allied forces, American forces in particular.
Well, that's correct. And the influence of the United States is not only the militarily, but the economically or politically or ideologically. So they have still, money or those, power over the mass media. So, but still, they have to get votes in order to, enough seats. So they have difficulties now, and the source of their power is the first of money from the big companies, and also that is number one, and they have supporters in the major organizations in local areas too. But the new thing is that people, gradually understand that those structure, you know, money by politics policies,
Mm-hmm.
and those monies are donated by those supporters, but they realize the LDP itself made slush fund
Mm-hmm.
out of those donations, and ordinary LDP supporters got really furious. So that was the main reason the LDP lost the majority last year. And the second thing is the militarily. As I said before, people are afraid of the influence, the military kind of threat or concern from China or Russia or North Korea. So ruling parties or mass media take that issues maximally to persuade people to vote for ADP, unless you will be in trouble or in danger, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the LDP will protect the country, is what they say.
Right. So the task for our party is, of course, number one is to criticize those policies and disclose those hidden atrocity or crimes in, like, the U.S. Marines soldiers in Okinawa or other places, or disclose those ecological degradations around the military bases. But also we have to put alternatives of diplomatic solutions to make peace around our country. That is the way. That is the thing I a little bit explained. We have to cope with the China, even Russia, to solve the problems, the territorial issues, and of course the ecological issues, or of course economic issues. That is not the military issues. So actually there's a big contradiction inside the LDP policies, because they want, or LDP and big corporations want good relations with China because of their, they depend on them, but at the same time, under the pressure of the United States and big corporations who manufacture their weapons, they at the same time, continues the military buildup. So that's a big contradiction. So if you want the normal relationship and the normal economic ties with other countries around the Asia, then stop those military buildup. Then put more emphasis on the diplomatic activities, and that's our main alternatives. And more specifically, Japan should cope more with ASEAN, Southeast Asian countries. They are more independent organization, cope with not only China or Russia, but also with the United States. They have, all around diplomacy. So that's our kind of alternative policies.
What does political participation and political engagement look like for the younger populations in Japan? Is there compulsory voting here? I don't know.
No.
No.
No?
No, it's very low right now.
Oh, the voter participation rate is low?
52%.
Well,
I'll
overall,
reflect
a little bit over 50% in the last election. 56, well, less than 60%, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, but we see young people, not well. Mass media says that these days students are more conservatives and they vote
Mhm.
for the LDP like that. But it's not the reality. And well, quite a few young people vote the opposition parties, especially last election. And part of that, them voted for us. And as I said, our structure is like this, and we have, unfortunately, party members among students who are youth under 30s, maybe less than 10 million, 10,000 less than.
Oh, okay.
So it's really,
Mhm.
compared to the 20 or 30 years ago, it's really, very small.
What about the LDP?
But
Oh.
still, those teenagers or 20s voted for us. Even, even we do not have enough members in that strata.
Right.
That is because they directly find the policies of our, party, and also get, become like our candidates or MPs, young MPs who speak straight against the, fascism, or so-called fascism, or military buildup, or gender equalities, or of course the strong opposition to the tuition fee hike, that kind of things. So our task is to reach those students and young guys who are not familiar with us, but at the same time they voted for us.
Mm-hmm.
If we success to reach those people, we will double or triple our membership in that area. That's our strategy, and that's why we are conducting now those big survey companies campaign, enquete, to hear their worries or demands directly, or have dialogue with on the street, or in the campuses or workplaces. And that's our tactics now.
What are some of the other big opposition parties? Which ones are they?
Constitutional Democratic Party is the main opposition party, and also the National People's Democratic Party.
The Democratic Party for the
People.
people. It's a
Communist.
strange, a strange name, but Democratic
Yeah.
Party for the people.
Are these also leftist parties or
No.
Are they also are most parties neoliberal in their
Well,
alignment?
part of, and but Constitutional Democratic Party has some elements to wish to cope with us
Yes.
in order to win in the this electoral district.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 years ago, Mr. Abe started to new militarism, and the main thing is that he wanted, or their fellows now want to self-defense forces of Japan
Mm-hmm.
to go abroad
Ooh.
and fight with the United States armies. Of course, it's totally, illegal from the point of view of the Constitution. That's why even the conservative people stood up to, against those changes. And in that kind of mass movement, we had a new relationship with the other opposition parties. And that's
Then you could work together for a while.
yeah.
But it's been more difficult in the last couple of years, I think, right? Yeah. Since Abe is
yeah, and
died.
those main opposition parties did not ask the slash the military budget. Our party is the only party in the diet now
Yeah.
to demand decrease those military budget.
Can I ask, like, what about Reiwa Shinzengumi? Because
They-
I saw some people in chat are asking about Reiwa because
Mhm.
it's getting a little bit more and more.
It's
attention.
another left-wing party.
Yeah, newly born like the Syriza or Podemos, maybe like that. But well, they do not want to cope with our party.
Mhm.
Actually, I must say their tactics is to steal our votes,
Mhm.
from the left wing to their party. But of course, as long as they want to cope with other parties to stood against the ruling, then it's okay. But I don't know. It's up to them. And
What's their alignment look like?
they do not want any alignment.
Mm-hmm.
They want we are the strongest, like that,
Mm-hmm.
And
But what are they for politically? I mean, it is not
well,
actually about them, but
actually politically, of course they say, well, nice things,
Yeah.
slash the consumption tax, and
which is the same for
yeah,
JCB, right?
raise the subsidies
Yeah.
or like this, but they do not have the appropriate budget strategy.
Right. The difference is that there's no policy behind it, I guess.
What they are saying is
JCB
to
does.
issue more bonds,
Right.
like that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Free money.
MMT. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
They're MMTists. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we are the party to demand to taxation over the big corporations like Toyota or other companies.
Mm-hmm.
They have made huge profits out of the exploitation of
Japanese workers.
temp workers.
Mm-hmm. So on that note, actually, is there in America
Mhm.
there is a popular appetite for that kind of sentiment
Mhm.
to say I'm anti-corporation.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, even the right wing has adopted the aesthetics
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
this sort of policy making, even though obviously they have no interest in doing so.
Mhm.
The Democratic Party also makes inferences towards that,
Mhm.
but they also don't really do much in terms of taxation either. But given that both parties are pushing for it in terms of marketing, to me that shows that there is a general appetite for it amongst the voting public.
Mhm.
Is that a similar thing in Japan as well? Do people view big corporations in a somewhat negative way, or do they see big corporations in a positive way as not exploiters, but instead playing a formative role in Japanese prosperity?
Well, the answer is latter part. I mean, I think Japanese people now thinks corporation is, well, after all, it's their source of revenue, or they think themselves as a part of the company, and the presidents of companies usually say that the company is like family,
Of course. We say that too, yeah.
Yeah, so that influence is really, well, big, but so in order to, we have to take account that kind of feeling, sentiment. So our policy is not we do not say the big company is our enemy. We do not say things like that. But this is the rational policies to remake our Japan, restart our you know, good way of life or economy as a whole, you know, those are unfairness, you know, too much accumulation, and those people who are, you know, struggling the high prices or, you know, other things, it's not normal. No, not normal for not only for ordinary people but also the for the whole economy, you know. So we propose to redistribute those wealth through the taxation and make money, you know, go around to boost the whole economy. After all, our economy well continues to go down for 30 years, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that is because of the those profit first economy, you know, big corporation first economy. So we have to change radically that. But we say not well we say, use radical, but it is also a rational way. And so in order to get votes from not only the left-leaning people, but also the, you know, good conservative people, you know, that's our strategy. Yeah.
Another question I have that seemingly a lot of politicians try to address is the declining birth rates in Japan. It seems like it's a big problem for especially politicians that choose to address it. Does the JCP or any party, as a matter of fact, see that as a direct consequence of work culture and workplace conditions, not having enough free time and the like, or even having even socializing in almost entirely a workplace setting? Is that a line that anybody in the general public sees, or is that totally removed from the equation? Because I've seen, dare I say, comical approaches to what to do in terms of addressing the declining birth rates. Like, so I think there was a politician that wanted to, what was it, make women not go to school after a certain age?
You're talking about
the Japan Conservative Party, maybe
Oh.
said something like that.
Yeah, but he
was just talking.
Sorry, yeah, the 100 Naoki. Yeah, but he's just talking.
crazy.
He's talking out of his ass. He's a person. He's like how would you call this? Like a right wing radio TV host almost, right? Like and he's just saying
does
things.
Long YouTube live streams where he just talks random stuff.
He's your other.
He's
Yeah.
There's many people like me in America too that do that on the right.
But now he's the leader of the party with 3 seats now.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's bad. That guy is a
Well, anyway,
best-selling author, by the way.
So the answer is from us is raise the salaries at the same time slash the working hours. That's the answer. In order to do that, you know, the companies needs money, you know, and big corporation has a, you know, they have enough. But the problem is the medium and small businesses. So get those internal revenues, profits from the big companies to the government and through government to subsidize those, help the small and medium companies. Then they can give more good salaries for the workers and maybe also slash the working hours. That's the thing. The birth rate itself is really a big problem, but you know, but marrying and make children is the totally individual, you know, rights, you know. So it's really kind of upsetting for us to politicians talking about the birth rate as a kind of national strategy or like that. It's
Mhm,
totally a
right.
kind of interference in the individual things, you know,
Mhm.
matters. So what the politics should do is to, you know, make more good conditions uh, for all young people to have more free time and more budget for the education or of course daily lives and like that.
Yeah. There's also another question here as well, of course, which is immigration. I would say that the primary reason that America has not fallen victim to the same birth rate decline is because of virtually unlimited immigration. Uh, this is an issue for many European developed nations as well. It's practically a universal issue for all developed nations. Um, and it seems as though one of the easiest ways to combat that is to open up immigration. But I feel as though Japan is not very open to that sort of thing.
On the surface, it is so, but in reality, we have many immigrants or immigrant workers here, as you see.
Yeah, at the convenience.
Yeah, convenience stores or in the pubs or like that. In the nursing care.
It's already a reality, essentially. Yeah.
So our policy is to guarantee the equal condition, working condition for those immigrant workers. They are not called as a worker. They are maybe trainees or or students. There's that kind of system.
Yeah, there's big abuse there, right? There's a lot of exploitation, which then also depresses wages for the existing national labor force as well.
Yes, yeah.
Because then companies will always use temporary workers as a substitute.
Yeah, that's right. So we have to guarantee the rights of not only young people of Japan, I mean Japanese people, but those people from overseas. In that way, we can get more good conditions for all people. If you make those minorities and bad things for them, then it will pull all conditions down, as Marx said,
Yeah.
So we have to help them, not only because it is
Because they're
necessary,
human.
but it is necessary for all of us,
Yeah, I mean, we have a similar problem in
Yeah.
America, obviously, as well.
Mhm.
Okay, that's. Do you guys have any other questions?
Do you have any?
Well,
No.
what's the chat asking?
What is the chat? Well, the chat asking a lot of things. I don't think we can get through all of this. It's a bit much.
Ask about homelessness. Oh yeah, what's
That's a
the
good question.
what's there are not homelessness is not very visible in
It's not
Japan.
good, yeah.
As opposed to places like where I'm from in Los Angeles, it's very visible. Is the invisibility, because I know the problem exists in Japan as well, but is the invisibility of that because of police enforcement, or is it more so a cultural thing? And also, what are ways in which the Japanese government tries to deal with this issue?
Well, mix of those, I think, but maybe mainly they evict those homeless people before the Tokyo Olympics or other big events from the center of in Shinjuku or in these areas. There are a lot of homeless. Oh, actually, we see the homeless people, just under
At the park?
Usually under bridges here.
and I believe
right?
on the highway.
Yeah.
Well, 1 minute walk.
You
there.
will see more here around this area for sure than in a lot of other areas. Sometimes in some of the parks
And
as
also,
well.
they go to the maybe under the bridge as you said, and or the on the riverside because it is controlled by the government, not the municipal offices.
Uh-huh.
So
I didn't
you
know
can
that.
you can get hide with the
I didn't know that.
prosecution.
And also before Shibuya, the Miyashita Park
Mhm.
was redeveloped recently,
Yeah,
and before that it was full of homeless people,
yeah.
and some of them tried to actually stop the redevelopment because they had nowhere else to go, and this was a relatively safe public open area to be
Mhm.
in, right?
Mhm.
But they redeveloped it, and now it's just full of izakayas.
Yeah.
Well, so
Is there an interest in like homelessness is born out of obviously the housing market for primarily. I'm not familiar with the Japanese housing structure, so I don't know what the housing market looks like in Japan. But I mean, there's a lot of readily available units, it seems. Having said that, I don't know if there's any public housing or any sort of initiative to do such a thing either.
well, main problem in the housing field is the government uh, decreased those public housing.
Oh, so there is public housing.
Yeah, there is, but much smaller, fewer than before, and they were privatized, you know, as other countries.
Classic.
Yeah, yeah, and so it is a source of the capitalistic exploitation, and in central Tokyo now it's virtually impossible for young people to live on, so we demand Tokyo government to build more public housing because they have money, big money. Tokyo government has, like Sweden,
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the main issue in the upcoming Tokyo Metropolitan Assembly election.
Which will be in June.
In June,
Mhm.
yes, and we are the number one in the opposition parties in Tokyo, and actually, by the way, we are in the ruling coalition in Iwate. It's a northern part of the Japan, Iwate Prefecture, also in the Okinawa Prefecture.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. At the local level in Japan, there are some prefectures or states where the state majority government includes the Communist Party
Yeah.
as a member.
I checked also. The Communist Party now has about 2,000 lawmakers in regional
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes.
assemblies.
So we put emphasis on those housing, as you said, and actually it's really weird. We have more than 10 million houses empty.
Yeah, but that's rural parts of Japan, right?
Not only rural.
Oh, in Tokyo as
in
well?
Tokyo too.
Mhm.
And it takes a huge money to
Yeah.
demolish those
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah.
So after the owner dies, no one takes care.
Okay.
And
Is there any plan to repurpose the houses that were owned formerly by people, or?
yes, there's government now trying to make new systems, but not. It's kind of difficult because of the right issues, to. But anyway,
There's
what
a
I
big
want to
fish
say
farm.
is that if you take much use of those, empty houses or apartments, then there's no problem for young people to get houses, but still, the construction companies continue to build new ones because that's the way to get money. That's their business, and that's the accordance according to the major policies of the ruling parties. So we have to change all those structures. Put more money for the public sectors,
Okay.
and gradually in Okinawa or Iwate or other those parts where our influence is bigger than others, the local governments begin more like subsidies for the young people for housing,
Mm-hmm.
and of course more subsidies for the young families. Yeah.
Yeah. But even that still doesn't address the main problem, which is if there's available units and they're not being purposed,
No.
then yeah, that could normalize the housing market. Is it expensive? Is the housing market in Japan costly for Japanese nationals?
Yeah,
'Cause
especially in the
As an American,
cities.
I look at the numbers, or I look at everything in Japan, and it's like affordable.
Well, our salaries are much lower
Yeah,
than
yeah.
American salaries. So
Yeah, because of
yeah.
the rate is
The
lower
currency.
for Japanese yen.
Yeah.
10 years ago, it's upside down, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why people are frustrated or getting frustrated because our country is down, you know, going down,
Right.
you know, like that.
And if it's, for example, if you were a part-time worker in Tokyo, in central Tokyo, you wouldn't be able to afford to live in central Tokyo. You'd have to live an hour and a half or an hour
Yeah.
away in a cheap like area, and then come into the city every day to work a low-paying job. So they wouldn't be able to afford housing in this area at all. Period.
So Japanese Communist Party now try to organize those temp workers for our, not only for our parties, but help them to become members of the trade unions, and also
Is there resistance to that from trade unions? Is there any like xenophobic attitude towards migrant workers? If you don't mind me asking.
well, it depends on the trade unions, but not so, because without the temp workers or those migrant workers, they cannot continue. But still, of course, there's a discrimination and xenophobic attitude towards them, especially from the owners of the companies, you know. So
One of the problems is there's too much work in Japan and not enough workers. So there's less opportunity to kind of like needs to become xenophobic. Like you don't need to find a scapegoat necessarily in immigration as readily.
So that's actually an interesting point that you brought up, because from what I understand, at least everything that I read about it, is that there is a feeling of hopelessness among the Japanese youth in terms of job attainment, even though it seems like the job market you're saying is it favors workers, and yet it doesn't translate to higher wages.
Yes.
So how does that dynamic exist this way here? Like what are some of the setbacks? What are some of the ways in which the government is, I assume, keeping maintaining wage prices as low as possible? Is it just simply free market, or?
Talking about wages, we demand radical increase of minimum wages, and minimum wages system in Japan now is, well, it depends on each prefecture, and Tokyo is the highest.
And what is it in Tokyo?
I think almost 1,500 already an hour. I think
1,500 yen an hour.
an hour.
So that's $9.66 an hour.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But
And that's high for Japan.
yeah. So we demand at least 22,000. And but the thing is that in Iwate or other, I mentioned the Iwate prefecture. It is one of the lowest prefecture, less than 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah, it's around 1,000 most places. Right?
Yeah, and so we
Like
propose
$7.
government to subsidize those medium and small companies to make more good salaries, and we have to change the system that we have to make the minimum wages, common minimum wages around Japan. It's now different, from prefecture to prefectures, and actually even around Tokyo, workers commute from their homes to Tokyo because wages are better.
Yeah.
Just 30 minutes or so, they can go in and get into the Tokyo, and actually then like Chiba, neighboring prefecture,
Right.
they
Yeah, that's where I live.
they have hard time to get enough workforces, because
Because
young people
yeah.
like the nurses or teachers go to Tokyo,
Yeah.
commute, like that. So we have to make the minimum wages straight, common, same, level, and of course, radically increase the amount.
What about the rural countryside? From what I understand, there's a lot of areas that are now completely desolate almost, where there used to be villages, some semblance of commerce, and now it's almost entirely gone. Is there any development projects to rebuild some of these villages and maybe move populations back, or?
Unfortunately, virtually no. Well, very little. The that is because the government do not have clear target of the food efficiency. Agricultural sector have really having hard time, and our food sufficiency rate is below 40%. It's really lowest in the advanced economies. Even in the island country, Britain has more than 60 or so, but Japan is lower than the 40. And
what are the why is that the reason? Is it because of agricultural work not being subsidized as much, or is it
that
environmental?
That is one thing.
Or is it environmental factors as well?
Well, of course, environmental factors that affect these years, but main thing is that the ruling parties gradually slash the subsidies. Well, compared to the 30 or 40 years ago, it's really totally different issues. And instead, they opened the market in the rice field. That's the last part of the agricultural sector. They export rice from the U.S. or other parts of the world. The rice is the main, products of this country, but it's really ridiculous. It's the another example of
maybe with
subordination.
With the Trump tariffs, if they do tariffs on Japan, then Japan can fight back and then rebuild its own rice fields.
Yeah. That's right.
JD Pondon, chat.
So rice or other products we import from, well, mainly from the United States or China or Australia or other things, parts of. Well, so that's why rural areas are now having really hard time. If the basic industry, that is agriculture sector, is keep going, then people stay there. But there's no few workplaces there compared to before. That's why people come to cities like Tokyo or Osaka.
Yeah, which then contributes to the housing market becoming less sustainable, less affordable, and it creates a whole litany of different problems.
And the developers or company, financial companies get money out of that phenomenon.
Yeah. Okay, I have one last question.
Okay.
By the way, thank you so much for
No
having
problem,
us
no
here.
problem,
This has
no
been
problem.
incredible. So, one of the things that I've observed, at least, coming out here and visiting, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, is that a lot of aspects of the Japanese economy are very private. I mean, they're privatized almost entirely, and this has led to, at least from a foreigner's perspective, some confusion. Like public transit, for example, is owned by however many companies, right? So
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
different railway networks,
Mhm.
but they're interwoven with one another in spectacular fashion, and it does still seemingly work.
And it's cheap.
Yeah,
relatively.
and it's relatively cheap. So I guess this is less about JCP and more about Japan in general. But I have thought that maybe it has something to do with Japan's sometimes insulated culture and collectivist sentiment, regardless of its hyper-capitalist markets. What do you think keeps these networks working? Because similar structures in the Western world oftentimes fall apart. As a matter of fact,
Yes.
privatization in the UK with Thatcherite neoliberal privatization initiatives completely destroyed the public transit structure that they had. In the United States of America, we don't even have public transit. Where I'm from in Los Angeles, we do not have a robust public transit network at all. Car companies very famously came in, bought out all of the carts that used to exist in an effort to completely abolish it. Our infrastructure is entirely car reliant, for example. So, how does Japanese society still function despite being somewhat of a dystopian capitalist society?
Well, mainly I think it owes to the kind of professionalism or kind of those efficiency oriented, workforces, working people. So we have big respect for them too. But as you know, in 1980s, only 40 years ago, during the Reagan and Thatcher era,
Mhm.
Japan also privatized the main railroad companies and the other sectors, and that affects a lot these days too. Well, you said that the still functioning,
Mhm. Mm.
it's okay,
And relatively affordable.
It must be, but affordable
Especially from
maybe
our
for
perspective.
you,
Yes.
for foreigners, because the exchange rate is down
Yeah.
for the and it's well good for the Toyota or other companies to export they get more money, but that shows the declining of the economic power of the Japan, and so
At
and
the
those
same, yeah. At the same time, it's not. I mean, just for me, it's a lot. My expectations are also just that it would be more expensive. Just even in Belgium, where I'm from,
Mhm.
it's not this cheap, right? And I only get paid in yen, right? So, but yeah, I do understand it's very.
But
Not
still,
everybody can
but
afford
still,
it the
it's
same
not
way.
so cheap for us
Yeah,
because
of course.
if you're in Belgium
Yeah.
or in Paris or
Yeah.
other capital, the price of the electric cars or tram or buses are maybe the same, or in some parts. But in Tokyo,
They're all
there's a different, prices,
Mm.
according to the kilometers or so.
And a temporary worker might not receive train fees from their employer. So
Yeah.
And so in
Yeah.
Belgium you would get some benefits if you're
Yeah.
under
So,
a certain kind of
so
income.
prices,
So,
traffic prices now at this moment is not so affordable. It's a
see.
kind of source of
Dissatisfaction?
satisfaction of the people.
Mhm.
Actually,
So
Yeah.
the 80s and that neoliberal attitude definitely, you're saying, contributed to, at least in comparison to what it used to look like, a decline in the affordability at least of public transit, but it at least still works. You
Yeah,
know?
it works, but I want to say that, well, it looks like so. It is functioning around here,
Mm-hmm.
but you cannot find those things in rural areas or other
That's
parts
true.
of Japan.
No.
Yeah.
Already
Definitely unequal.
collapsing, I
Okay.
must say. In Hokkaido or even in Hiroshima, I'm come from Hiroshima Prefecture. In the city of Hiroshima City is now a big city,
Mm-hmm.
even after the bombing. But in other parts of Hiroshima, already the railways are demolished, and people are saying that without trains or railways, it's kind of our symbol is collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
Or even a bus might be, it goes from 5 times a day to just 2 times a day.
Yeah.
And more accidents in the bullet train, Shinkansen trains, more accidents than before. So they do not pay money in the maintenance, but they want to build more, profitable, like the linear Shinkansen.
Yeah, the maglev train they're building between Tokyo and I guess Nagoya. It's gonna,
in the
yeah,
really
yeah,
down,
yeah.
Dangerous construction work. So we opposed to that project, but so you can see already the collapse of the or big devastation or result of the neoliberal policies.
Mm.
So that's why people concentrate from the rural areas to Tokyo or Osaka or some few prefectures.
Mm. Okay.
So in order to change the course, we have to get those money from the big companies who profited from the neoliberal policies to other sectors.
Yeah.
Redistributing.
And also, our party is known as a pacifist tendencies, and the one reason because the young people thinks our party as a conservative is we say defend Article 9 of the Constitution, pacifist clause. That sounds kind of conservative to them, but it is.
Why do they consider that to be conservative?
Well, maybe the word defend sounds like
The fact
that.
you're
maybe.
protecting a thing that already exists, while the other side is saying we need to change this in order to bring Japan
And
forward.
young people, not only young people, tend to think that something has to be changed.
Yes,
You know?
there's a
And
feeling of change.
We have
Need
to
for change.
do something to change. And anyway, but we say defend our constitution because it is the way to make peaceful life.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, it is a way to get enough budget from the military spendings. So
I see.
even the other constitutional Democratic Party or even other progressive Labour Party do not criticize those military buildups. The MPs from the constitutional Liberal Democratic Party, well, they argue that we understand we need
Right.
some kind of deterrence or kind of military.
Against China.
They
Well,
won't
they
say
do
it.
not say straight because they do not China
Yeah.
to be angry,
Yeah.
So we say straightforward. That's the right answer to change the status quo. So maybe, well, you gave me a question beforehand, and what's the result we made in the dietary section. But as a whole, I think the biggest achievement of our party is we have kept our country out of war. We kept our government. We kept our government from waging war with the U.S. or
Together
waging aggression of war. So I think that's the main achievement. Of course, achievement with the people of Japan, but so we keep going in that direction too.
Oh, okay. This is the last question. I promise.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I just
No problem. No
you've been incredible. So I have this here, and I wanted to ask you.
Oh, Chavez.
So, Che Guevara. It's a popular cigarette.
Not Chavez, it's Che Guevara.
Yeah,
Sorry,
not Chavez. Yeah.
Not Chavez, it's Che
Not Chavez.
Guevara.
So popular is a popular cigarette brand. No, it's not.
I saw for the first time.
Oh, really? It's not a popular cigarette brand. Okay, well, I think it's so.
Where did you get that?
Yeah.
Konbini.
Really?
Yeah.
You here?
Yeah.
I think
Here?
I've seen it before. Yeah, in
Yeah.
Japan, yeah.
Eh? Eh?
You got them.
Yeah. Never seen it either.
I think I've seen it before.
I've
I've just never
definitely
seen anyone
I've seen it before.
hold them.
That's why I bought it. Because I was like, this is crazy.
Where
Um,
did you get this?
Family Mart.
I mean, where?
I
Family
don't
Mart.
know.
Family
Shinjuku. Yeah,
Shinjuku?
hi. Shinjuku.
I'm gonna
Wow.
have to check around.
Well, maybe for the foreign tourists, I think. No?
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
But the reason why I ask is, what's the? I've heard, at least one of my favorite Japanese auteurs is a video game producer. I love a lot of Japanese video game producers. But his name is Hideo Kojima.
Kojima Hideo.
He is a big fan of Che Guevara, and a lot of his video games like Metal Gear Solid. They're very anti-militarist, talking about private military contractors, privatization of armies and whatnot. The reason why I asked that is because I wanted to hear what the Japanese society's overall view is of some revolutionary figures like Che Guevara or Fidel Castro or numerous others. Is there a lot of popular sentiment surrounding these figures, or is the attitude against them negative like it is in America? Because in the United States of America, Che Guevara is seen as a very bad guy. Because if you're on the right side,
like terrorist.
yeah, if you're on the right side of history, America, usually will declare you an enemy for the most part. So, is there a popular sentiment surrounding people like this, or no? Or do people just not even know?
I honestly don't know
really-
much about
I
it.
think they would probably just say who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good question about in terms of like martyrs, like
But in mass media, Che Guevara is not so bad guy.
Yeah, I think even in America, there was a period where, I feel like it's the classic, like, oh, Che Guevara shirt. Like, people used to make a joke about that,
Those
but it
exist
doesn't.
in Japan too. People wear those shirts sometimes.
Yeah, I don't even think it's like that big of a thing anymore.
Yeah.
In terms of like even like socialists wearing.
I have
stuff like
I
that.
have seen people sell this at the JCP Sapota festival.
And I have the T-shirts.
T-shirts,
of,
yes.
Che Guevara
The JCP festival. The other thing, maybe like the only thing I can think of that's close to this is like Kobayashi Takiji, right? Who is a famous author who's still venerated in like Japanese canon, but he was one of the founders of the JCP.
And he was tortured to death by the secret police.
That's the only thing I can think of, and he is venerated in general as part of the canon of literature, right? So, but that wasn't really a revolution. That was a revolutionary action. I can't think of like a figure in Japanese culture that's kind of like historical, that's accepted in that way, except I don't know.
Well,
Gundam
anyway,
and
Che Guevara is still hero in the
Sha.
in that area. People of that.
Yeah, of course.
In Japan too.
Yeah.
And thank you for telling me.
Okay.
But-
Do you
but
want
I-
it?
yeah.
I don't smoke.
Oh,
Here
yeah.
you go.
No, I'm not
No, no.
sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
but thank you.
You can give it to someone else.
Yeah, for memory. Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
All right. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
Thank
Thank you
you
very
very
much.
much.
Yeah.
That was very
Yeah.
edifying, you know.
Oh, by the way, as I said,
Yeah.
you can buy or subscribe the Akahata, you know, digital one. So I
Chaps,
Please.
if you live in Japan or not, you can like and subscribe the Akahata.
Yeah,
Or subscribe
actually,
on the digital one, I
we
guess.
are having hard time to expand our leadership. So
Yeah.
if you are interested in the journalism, then
That's
please
how
help.
they fund the party is
Yeah.
by selling the newspaper.
Yeah.
So,
Oda also likes Che Guevara.
Oda?
yeah.
Oda, Eiichiro Oda.
The
Uh-huh.
One Piece author.
One Piece
Yeah.
no manga.
Mangaka.
Yeah.
One
Also.
Piece
Uh,
Yeah,
you know a lot.
a little bit.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me end the stream here as well. Chat. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much once again to Jeff, Romeo. Thank you to our gracious host and the Japanese Communist Party for showing us a different side of this trip so far. And I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that'll be it for today. I'm gonna go head back and probably participate in the other streams that are happening today. And yeah, that's it. Peace, everybody.